Hi, I'm Neil Beck. I was a doctor in Perth, Western Australia for 53 years. In that 53 years, people, all ages, with all sorts of problems. And I was interested in what gave people the worst troubles and what gave people the best quality of life. And I became quite sure that the most important thing to have good quality of life is to be mentally healthy. In a developed, prosperous country where you know you're going to have enough to eat and you're going to have a roof over your head and other basic necessities, the thing that's most important is to be mentally healthy. And the second most important thing is to have enough good relationships. So for a good life, mental health and enough good relationships. And sadly, there were many people suffering very badly with their mental health and with bad relationships, broken marriages and so on, because there were just not enough mental health care workers to help all the people that needed help. And it seemed to be slowly getting worse because we'd always had tobacco and alcohol, but then we started to get heroin and ice and crystal meth and cocaine, and the whole situation was getting worse. And it appeared to me that there was never going to be enough people to help, enough mental health care workers to help all the people that needed help. So the solution seemed to be to get help online and to do self-help, because there were a whole lot of blind areas in mental health that made it weak and slow. Mental health was not taught in school. That's a terrible thing. Mental health is the most important thing. Mental health and relationships not taught in school. A lot of people got treated without the causes being found, and you must find the causes. It's so much easier to help people with their mental health if you find the causes and fix the causes, and then they're much less likely to relapse. And another blind area was people tended to be treated as if they were solo, as if they're on their own, whereas mental health problems are nearly always family problems. Across the family and down the family tree, a mental health problem is like one link in a very long chain through hundreds and thousands of mothers and fathers, and whenever there was a problem in that chain, it could affect the next 3 generations. If someone had a disaster, then it not only affected them, but it could affect their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. So treating people as solo is just a terrible blind area. That transgenerational trauma was a blind area. The realization that a person's problem today might very well be because their mother or father or a grandmother or grandfather or a great-grandmother or great-grandfather had something terrible happen to them. For instance, one of my great uncles came back from the First World War very damaged and became an alcoholic, never married, never had a family, and eventually wandered off into the bush and was never found again. And I believe that he had a serious effect on one of his nephews, my uncle, with the same name. Another blind area is that 60 to 65% of our life is habits. Our brain is so busy, it's got so much to do, that anything that we do very often, it turns into a habit that happens automatically and unconsciously, so the brain can focus on the more difficult things, the more important things that don't happen very often, the new things, the things that need to be changed. But habits are 60 to 65% of our life, and things become habits whether they're good or bad. If you do something good over and over and over again, it'll become a habit. It'll happen almost automatically, unconsciously, and it'll be hard to stop. But if you do something bad over and over and over again, it will also become a habit that happens almost automatically and unconsciously, and is very hard to stop. So the quality of your life depends a lot on how many good habits you've got and how many bad habits you've got. But none of the mental health care workers seem to be helping people to learn how to make good habits and how to break bad habits, and that's so important. And it's appeared to me that there was too much emphasis on diagnosis. That was another blind area. What's wrong with you? You've got ADD, ADHD, you've got bipolar, you've got major depression. Really what people, that helped people. People were often grateful to know that their problem had a name, and lots of people had it and there's treatment for it. But what they really needed to know, what the emphasis really needed to be, and was a blind factor, was what do they need? What do they need to have a better life? In other words, probably good to know that you've got ADD, ADHD, but what you really need to know is that what you need to do is to learn to focus and concentrate better, to learn not to be so impulsive, because impulsiveness is one of the things that gets ADD people into trouble, and to not be hyperactive. So that, helping people to get very clear what they need to do seem to be a blind area. And people were not being taught to help themselves. We were treating them as if they're dumb bums, that we got to tell them everything and hold their hand and do everything. But people must be taught to help themselves as much as possible. It's much better to be able to help yourself. You can't help yourself with everything in mental health, but you can help a lot, and you can do it when it's needed, anytime, anywhere. You don't have to wait till you get an appointment and go to the clinic. And another blind area is that mental health and addiction problems were not treated as emergencies, and they are emergencies. If you get onto a mental health problem or an addiction problem, as soon as it starts, it's much simpler. It's much easier to know what it is, to know what caused it, why it started, and to fix it. But if you, but people were going on for years and years, and they often got no help or treatment until they crashed. Problems caused problems that caused more problems until it was very complicated, and eventually they couldn't carry on, and then it was 10 or 20 times harder to understand the problem to help them to fix it, and a lot of them never got fixed once they crashed. Another blind area was that there was a focus on finding who to blame. There's a problem. Who's to blame? But problems are always part of a chain. and there are lots of people involved, and to blame one person is just not right. If someone neglects their child or mistreats their child, that's because they were neglected and mistreated, and they were neglected and mistreated by their parent because they were neglected and mistreated. Or so focusing on blaming was not right, and also it caused trouble, because when there's a problem, what you really want to know exactly what's happening that's not right, and exactly why it's happening, and what started it, and what's going to fix it. But if people think you're going to blame them, they don't tell you the truth. They don't want to talk. If you have a sort of a zone of non-blame, nobody's to blame, this is, well, let's not quite say that, but an act of God. But it's not an act of God. It's part of a chain of problems, and no one person is to blame. And if there's no blame attitude, then people will tell you exactly what they felt, what they did, why they did it, and then you've got a much better chance of fixing the problem. And a final blind spot which affected my family quite badly, but I didn't learn it till I was in my 80s, despite being a doctor for 53 years, is that quite a lot of problems are a sort of unconscious loyalty to the family. Oh, I have to be poor because my family is poor. Oh, I have to be uneducated because my family is uneducated. Oh, I have to suffer because my parents are suffering. I can't have a happy marriage because they didn't have a happy marriage. So this loyalty, unhelpful loyalty, is a major blind spot. If you've got a problem and you can't work out why you've got that problem, have a careful look at your family, your parents, your grandparents, your brothers and sisters, cousins, and so on. Who else has got that problem? Who are you being loyal to? My father lived to be 97, his sister lived to 95, their older brother lived to 91, and their younger brother died at 68 from lung cancer because he was a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker. No one else in the family were drinkers or smokers. They were anti-alcohol and anti-smoking, but I think he was being loyal to his great uncle who came back from the war very damaged, who had the same name. Are you spoiling your life in some way because you're conforming with or you're sympathizing with some troubled person in your family? And another reason, apart from all these blind areas, why mental health care often didn't work very well and was very slow, so there was a great waiting list and people weren't getting the help they needed quickly, which what you need to do is get things early, was that there were only two main tools in mental health, and they both had two great weaknesses. One tool was medicine, and so many medicines were addictive, and medicines are slow, and you don't want addictive medicines, and you want medicines that work quickly and fix things, and then you can stop taking them. But the people who make medicines want as many people to take as much as medicine as possible for as long as possible. So they do two things. One is they make lots of medicines addictive. The commonest mental health problems is anxiety, worry disorders. A common one is sleep disorders. Another common one is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And all the medicines for anxiety worry disorders were addictive. It used to be barbiturates, and there were lots of barbiturates, and they were all addictive. And then in the 1960s, you got this better medicines, benzodiazepines, Valium, Seropax, Mogadon, Xanax. Well, I saw people taking 20 or 30 or 40 Valium tablets a day. The problem with addictive medicines is they work in small amounts when you first take them, but they don't cure anything. Nothing is cured, so you've still got the problem, and your body develops, your chemistry develops a bit of a resistance to an addictive substance. So the next time you need relief, you need a bigger amount to give you the relief from your suffering and to overcome the resistance. When you take a bigger amount, you get even more resistance. So it goes more resistance, bigger amount of medicine to give relief and overcome the resistance, even stronger. It gets strong until you're addicted, till you're taking so much that you can't afford it, you can't get it, and it's not working because of the resistance. So one problem with medicines is addictive. The second problem is too slow. Most medicines are tablets or capsules. When you swallow a tablet or a capsule, it takes half an hour to an hour to go right down your gut and start to get into your bloodstream and start to go to where it's needed, usually to your brain. Half an hour to an hour to start, and 1 to 2 hours before it's working strongly. And if you're going somewhere and you know you're going to get very anxious, you're going to get social, you want something that works straight away. You don't want something that it takes an hour before it's giving you much help. And if you start to crave a cigarette and you don't want to smoke, the medicine that takes half an hour to an hour to start and 1 to 2 hours to work strongly, that's not fast enough. But of course what that means is you can't take the medicine just when you need it. You have to take it 2 or 3 times a day to prevent the problem. So of course that means you're taking lots of medicine, and it gets a bit less effective when you've taken a lot of it for a long time, and it's just too slow. So I use powder medicines. If you drop powder medicine on your tongue and suck it, don't swallow it, it gets straight into the blood vessels in your tongue, which make your tongue pink or red, starts to work in 5 minutes. It's working strongly in 10 to 15 minutes, and soon you get taste conditioning, and then the powder starts to work in seconds as soon as you drop it on your tongue and you taste it, as soon as it reaches the taste buds at the back of your tongue. The other mental health tool is talk therapy, counselling, psychotherapy, CBT, whatever you like to call it, talk therapy. And talk therapy's got 2 big problems. One is it's too slow, and the other is it's too costly. When I see a new patient with serious mental problems, and especially if they've got the beginnings or they've got an addiction, it takes an hour to find out what their problems are, when they started, what probably caused them, what makes them worse, what helps them, and what they're treating. An hour. We don't have an hour. It's just too slow. Talk therapy is just too slow. And it's too expensive, because to be a therapist or a doctor or a psychiatrist, you have to train for years. The least qualification to be a therapist is a 4-year Bachelor of Psychology. So if you've got a 4-year Bachelor of Psychology or a 6-year general medicine degree, which doesn't make you very qualified to deal with mental health, or you're a psychiatrist, which means a general 6-year medical degree plus 3, 4 or 5 years of psychiatric training, you are an intelligent person who's undertaken a long training, and you have to be paid well. They deserve to be paid well. If they aren't paid well, we'll be even shorter of them. So talk therapy is slow, and it's costly. It's costly because it takes so long, and the people who do it have to be paid well. So when I realized that mental health and relationships were the two most important things and very common problems, you know that now 38% of family doctor consultations are about mental health. 38%. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? And only 14% of medical students want to become family doctors, general practitioners. So it's going to be a problem. Well, it is a problem already. I originally always made 15-minute consultations in my general practice, and then a lot of people were making 10-minute consultation appointments, and now it's down to 6 minutes. There's so much rush, and as far as I can see, it's going to get worse unless we change the system. So how do we change the system? We change the system by developing a complete pack of much more efficient tools, using modern technology. So what are the tools? Over 27 years I've developed 7 tools with 3 more on the way. First of all, videos. There's no faster, better, more convenient, lower cost way to understand a mental illness than to watch a 1-minute video on it. Originally I made 10 or 15-minute videos, and a lot of people watched them, but over the years people have got more and more to favour the TikTok under a minute videos, 30-second videos. So now I've got 83 under a minute videos. And how do you find which videos to watch? Well, we have websites. I had a website, still have a website called mentalhealthvideos.com, which has the 83 videos listed on it, and you can go through and tap on the one that you think helps you. But that was a 14-page website, and people wanted a shorter website. So now I've got a 1-page website called smilefixit.com. Smilefixit.com, everything on one page, and you just tap the link to the thing that you want. And then we developed an app. Because talk therapy was so slow, I developed a 20-question checklist and got one of my assistants to do the checklist with new patients, so that in 10 minutes, seeing the report on the checklist and talking to the patient, I could do what would take me 30 or 35 minutes to do, which I just didn't have the time when I got very busy. But even checklists are slow and cumbersome. You've still got to go to the clinic, and it still involves quite a bit of time. So then we developed the Mental Fix-It app, and the Mental Fix-It app asks questions about every aspect of mental health and addiction, all the important aspects, and you just tap your choice of answers. At first there were 38 questions, and it took about 10 minutes to tap your choice of answers, and then you got an instant report. But that seemed to be too long for a lot of people, so we reduced the questions to 19, and you could do the 19 questions in 5 minutes. And you keep repeating the app to see how you're going, to see whether you're getting better or not. And it doesn't ask the questions that don't apply. So if you tap no, it's not a problem for you. You only get that question every 4th time. So fairly soon you can do the app in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Still too long, so our present project, which is going to take a month or two, is to get the app, the Mental Fix-It app, down to 2 minutes. And the app give you an instant report. As you tap your choice of answers to the last question, you get an instant report on the screen which tells you 4 things. First of all, it tells you the 6 under a minute videos that will help your particular problems most, because different people have different problems and you want to know which videos you should watch. And then you can watch them as many times as you like, whenever you like, until you really understand. And of course, you can download the Mental Fix-It app onto your phone, which means you can do the check anytime, anywhere, at midnight on Christmas Day, in your lunch break at work. You can do it anytime, anywhere, and get the instant report, which then tells you the 6 videos that will help you most, and you can watch those 6 videos in 6 minutes. So in 10 seconds, on your phone, tap the App Store or Google Play button, download the app in a few seconds, do the check in 3 to 5 minutes, watch the 6 minutes, 6 1-minute videos, and you're miles in front. The second thing in the report is on the iPhone version, there's a graph that shows whether your scores are getting better or not. So you can instantly see whether your treatment is working and you should continue that treatment, or whether your treatment is not working, your score is not getting better, your graph is not getting better, so you need to have more of that treatment or different treatment. Very important to get quick feedback as to whether what you're doing is benefiting you. On the Android version, we don't have that graph yet. Soon we'll have a diagram where you can see, but the graph takes a fairly long time. The third thing in the instant report is a complete list of all your problems, because when you have one mental health problem, you always have other mental health problems. Most people who have got serious mental health problems got 2 or 3 serious problems and 2, 3, 4 or 5 smaller problems. And to get completely better, you eventually have to fix them all. And one of the problems about talk therapy is you never get past the main 1 or 2 ones. So maybe a third or even a half of your problems are smaller problems, a combination of smaller problems that never get found or fixed. But the instant report on the Mental Fix-It app gives you all your problems, each with a score. The more serious problems, a score up to 15, moderate problems score 9, 10, 11, mild problems score 3, 4 or 5. And each time you do the app, those scores are all added together to give you a total score. And the fourth thing that the instant report gives you is which medicines are most likely to help you. Of course, you'll have to see a doctor and get a prescription, but it's good to know which medicines are likely to help you and to be able to do a bit of research with Dr. Google about those medicines. Right, so the first 3 tools were videos, websites, the Mental Fix-It app. The fourth tool is live streaming, which we're doing now because a lot of people like to watch live streaming, and we get usually somewhere around 2,000 viewers each time I do the live streaming, which I do on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. Perth time, which is 9 p.m. Sydney, Melbourne time, which is 7 a.m. New York time and 4 a.m. LA time, and God knows what it is in London and Sweden and Norway, where we have some viewers. So I do the Sunday live streaming at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, because that's in the evening in the Northern Hemisphere, which is a more user-friendly time, and we may have to change another of the sessions to morning Perth time so that it's evening Northern Hemisphere time, because sometimes half of our viewers are in the Northern Hemisphere. Tool number 5 is powder medicine. We've known about, and you may have heard about, sublingual tablets. You put the tablet under your tongue, you don't swallow it, and that's faster than swallowing it. But powder is the really fast way to do it. And I found if I ground up the tablets, or pulled the capsule apart and dropped the powder on people's tongue and they sucked it and didn't swallow it, it started to work in 5 minutes, because it gets, your tongue is pink or red because the blood vessels are so close to the surface, and the thousands of tiny grains of powder get straight into the circulation very quickly, and within a couple of weeks you get taste conditioning, and then the powder medicine on your tongue starts to work in seconds, and it's working strongly in 5 to 10 minutes. But handling powder in a bottle with a scoop was a bit messy, so I developed powder medicine dispensers. So there's powder in this dispenser, and you have it in your pocket, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, even driving the car, when you need the medicine, just whiz it out and drop it on your tongue. And that's much better for many mental health things like social phobia or panic attacks, or for addictions like craving for smoking, craving for alcohol, and so on. The 7th tool is a heartbeat meditation aid. Meditation is so valuable for mental health and addiction problems, but the people who would benefit most have difficulty learning to meditate. Meditation is a habit. What you do is you focus on something and forget all your problems and have a little rest, a little break from all your problems, and your brain adjusts to that, and soon the meditation habit is a strong, beneficial habit that makes you calmer and happier and stronger, and it's very beneficial. But the problem is that if you're very disturbed, it's hard to start doing that habit, because focusing on your breathing is not very attention grabbing. Some meditation teachers teach you to focus on a word. That's not very mind-grabbing either, but I'd been listening to people's hearts with stethoscope for 50 years, and listening to your heart with a stethoscope is loud and strong and interesting, and it's much easier to focus on. It's much more attention-grabbing, so you can then have the rest, stop thinking about all your problems, and develop the meditation habit. So this is just a shortened stethoscope, which I call a heartbeat meditation aid. That's the listening part. You just stick that down over your upper left chest, and I can hear my heart beating strongly, loudly. It's easy to focus on it, and much easier to stop focusing on problems. And after a couple of months with a heartbeat meditation aid, you're meditating strongly enough that you can then do it focusing on your breathing, which is the best way to do it, because your breathing is closely tied to your emotions, to your feelings, and you've got your breathing wherever you go. You might forget your heartbeat meditation aid. So that's the best way to go. If you want a heartbeat meditation aid, we can send you one anywhere in the world for $25 Australian and postage. The eighth tool, which is on the way, and we should have it in a month, and this is a prototype, is a bigger pocket powder medicine dispenser. This one you put fruit powder in, and then whatever your favorite is. My favorite fruit powder is vanilla, so this has got vanilla in it, and wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I can just drop 1 ml of vanilla powder on my tongue and have a lovely taste. And what does that do for you? Well, it's nice to have pleasure. Pleasure is good for you. It boosts your endorphins, that's your happy brain chemistry, which boosts your immune system, which makes you more resistant to diseases, to infections, allergies, inflammation, autoimmune diseases and cancers. But it's also good for making and breaking habits. If I want to develop a habit and I'm not that keen about it, if every time I think about it or I do it, I have a lovely taste, and I keep repeating that, it gets easier and easier to do that habit. You do it more often, and the more often you do it, the easier it is. Or if I want to break a habit, what I do is when I think of doing this habit, say I think of smoking a cigarette, I'm not a smoker, but say I did, so you just have a lovely taste and you just focus on the taste and try not to think about the cigarette. And as the taste fades, you have another taste and focus on that and if you delay smoking for 15 minutes, that slightly weakens the nicotine addiction. The way that you break habits, you can go cold turkey, but that usually doesn't work, and it's very hard to do, and people relapse. It's better to weaken and weaken and weaken the habit by delaying it and doing less of it. So if I was a smoker and I wanted to stop, and stopping smoking is very difficult, what I do, I have my fruit powder dispenser in my pocket. When I think about smoking, I whiz it out and I have a lovely taste, and I focus on that and I delay smoking. And if I delay smoking for 15 minutes and then I smoke, but I only smoke 3/4 of the cigarette and throw the last quarter away, then that weakens the smoking habit. And when it's weaker, you can delay it longer, easier, and you can smoke less. You can smoke half a cigarette instead of a whole cigarette, or instead of 3/4. And after 2 weeks, you've reduced your smoking by 1/4 fairly easily. After 4 weeks, you've reduced it by half. After 6 weeks, you've reduced it by 3/4. And after 8 or 10 or 12 weeks, you're right down to a level where you can just quit, because the habit is so much weaker. And that's a much more successful way of doing it, a less stressful way. And if you then keep the powder in your pocket, and you meet some mates and they say, "Yeah, have a smoke," and you're tempted to have a smoke, "Oh no, I'll just have," and you take your powder, and that prevents you from relapsing. And relapsing is such a problem if you just go cold turkey rather than winding the habit down. What's the so in about a month or 6 weeks we'll have these available. I haven't quite worked out yet whether we're going to send them to you with powder in them or just send you the empty ones and you can get the powder. There's fruit powder is now more and more popular worldwide, and there are lots of companies selling fruit powder. And in Perth, in Australia, Coles, one of the big supermarkets, has quite a few different powders which you can buy in bulk and just put in the dispenser yourself, or we'll probably be able to supply also. The ninth tool, which I was very enthusiastic about a couple of months ago, but I've rather neglected, is what I call phone treasure. We've all got our smartphones in our pockets now, and my idea was to put lots of lovely things on your phone, and whenever you're a little bit low and you need a lift, you whiz the phone out and you look at something lovely on your phone, or you listen to something lovely on your phone. It might be pictures of your children or your grandchildren or your girlfriend or your mother or someone you love. It might be famous people that you like. It might be great rivers or mountains or great buildings or cars. Whatever you love, whenever you need it, you can have a little lift in your mood by looking at something you love on your phone or listening to something you love on your phone. Or you can use that to make habits, reward yourself every time you think about the habit that you want to make or do it. You reward yourself with some phone treasure. Or you can break habits by every time you delay and reduce the habit, you reward yourself. But I haven't got round to that yet, because tool number 10 just seemed to me to be so important that I've been working on that non-stop, and I'm hoping it's not too far away. And what is tool 10? Well, people love scrolling. Why does TikTok have more than 1 billion people viewing TikTok every month? More than 1 billion viewers a month, and so many of them spending so much time scrolling through all their very fast little videos. Well, I did a ChatGPT search, and they said people love scrolling on TikTok because it gives them pleasure. It's a little lift, and because it inspires them and triggers their creativity, and because it's addictive. Yes, of course it's addictive. And I did a Google search, and Google said it's because the TikTok algorithm finds out what you like, and it gives you what you like, and that brings you back. But I think there are two other reasons. One is there are a lot of people very curious, and they like to explore the whole world. And we used to read the British Encyclopedia or big books, and then we'd watch television programs. But now what we do is we just scroll under a minute videos on TikTok because of curiosity and discovering things. But another reason, I think, is that many people have got troubles, they've got problems, and they're looking for solutions, and they think you can cover so much ground in such a short time that if you scroll on TikTok you might find what you're looking for. But the problem is that the scrolling is very fast. You cover a lot of ground because there's no detail. And if you find the thing you're interested in, but there's no detail. So what I'm hoping is that we can give the best of both worlds. I think there are about 80 different mental health and addiction factors that people need to know. Some they don't need to know. If you're not a heroin addict, you didn't need to know about heroin. If you're not an alcoholic, you don't need to know about alcoholism. If you don't have ADD, you don't need to know that. But how do you know whether you've got ADD? As I mentioned, I discovered something very important in my family, which is transgenerational trauma in my 80s. Why? If I had known that in my 20s, it would have been so much better for me and my family. So what I'm doing, almost finished, is making 80 10-second videos that you can race through in 12 or 14 minutes, which cover each of those 80 things. And it's just a different way of to the app. The app asks you questions, but this shows you a little clip on everything, on anxiety, on depression, on ADD, on alcohol, on heroin, on making and breaking habits. And when you see a little 10-second clip that yours, and you think, that's what I'm interested in, then you can immediately tap a 1-minute video. And that 1-minute video gives you, of course, quite a lot more information than the 10-second. And when you watch that 1-minute video, you say, oh no, that's not really what I'm interested in. Or you say, yeah, that's what I'm interested in. And then at the end of the 1-minute videos, it gives you links to more information. So what I want is people to be able to scroll through the whole field, not miss anything, not miss transgenerational trauma, not miss anything, and repeat this often enough to make sure that they know everything that is of significance to them, or to their child, or to their husband, or to their wife, or to their friend, or so they find anything, everything by scrolling. But as soon as they find something that's of interest, they can then tap the button and watch a 1-minute video, which gives you quite a lot of information. And if that information proves to be interesting and you want more information, at the end of that 1-minute video you'll be able to tap more laps and get more information. So that's what I'm up to, and I may have to, I think that the phone treasure and this 10-second video scrolling are so important that I may have to restrict my live streaming for a while to get that properly done. So I think I need to stop now. We have so many viewers from so many places, we can't talk to them, but I'm very interested in what you think. So this live streaming is on TikTok, it's on YouTube Shorts, it's on Instagram and Facebook. Whatever program, whatever platform you watch on, please send me a message of your comments, your questions, and your criticisms, how you would think better. Send it to me, and I'll spend an hour, now I stop, answering those questions, and in the morning I'll spend another hour responding. Or you can email me. My email address for comments, questions and criticisms is spelled how it sounds, healthestuff@gmail.com, healthestuff@gmail.com. Or if you can't remember that, just look at our brief website, smilefixit.com, smilefixit.com, and you'll find the email address there and email me. Okay, well, Friday today, Saturday tomorrow, I'll be back here at 7 o'clock tomorrow, Perth time. And yes, thank you.